Hello, my name is Rachel Spradlin, and this is my informative speech on charter schools. I'd like to begin with a quote. Public education needed to change, and it still does. These are the words of Albert Shanker in an attempt to urge citizens to further shape public education for those students that may be slipping through the cracks. Charter schools have always been the topic of controversy. But I feel like as American citizens and voters, it is our duty to not only understand public education for ourselves, but for future generations as well. I have researched both the growth and the impact charter schools have made on the education system. And at the end of my speech, I hope not only you will understand what a charter school is, how it came to be, as well as the growth and impact it makes. First, to understand what a charter school is, you need to learn a little bit of history about its development. The idea of a charter school began in 1983. This was after a report released entitled A Nation at Risk came to the public eye. This was in the midst of an education reform, and 5 years later, Albert Shanker made his speech urging Americans that the reform was not enough, that there were still students that were falling through the cracks as the reform only catered to a certain group of students. Charter schools today are tuition-free public education. They are chartered by outside organizations such as, in many cases, churches or even groups of teachers. They still follow all the federal guidelines of a traditional public school, but they have a little bit more flexibility as far as how they operate. Now I'd like to take a look at the growth of charter schools over the years. As of now, there are 45 states that have charter schools and charter school legislation passed. Between 2005 and 2016, we saw the biggest leap of charter schools. If you look in the state of the charter sector on page 9, there's a graph that depicts the number of students versus the number of charter schools as they steadily grow together. Through recent years, the enrollment of ethnically diverse and underprivileged students has been on the rise. Within the charter school system, there is a higher number of African American and Latino students than there are white students. Comparing to traditional public schools, there is a lower number of special education students than there are in the public school system. Next, I'd like to take a look at the various ways that charters impact our school districts. There's no question that they make an impact. Some are positive, some are negative. On the negative aspect, since both entities are funded by enrollment, when charter schools develop around surrounding school districts, that ultimately pulls away funding from the traditional public schools. On the other hand, when these charter schools pop up, it does seem to almost encourage the traditional public schools to make changes such as smaller class sizes. This is an example too of what competition does within the school system. Since charter schools are a school of choice, it's going to make positive and negative effects as far as how parents choose to enroll their children, and it's going to make impacts on everybody in that community. There was a study done in 2010. It was called the Evaluation of Charter Schools. This was a study that was conducted on multiple charter schools only at the middle school age, even though charter schools range from elementary to secondary. What they found is that there was more of a positive impact on students enrolled in charter schools that were considered at risk, but a negative effect on students that were enrolled in charter schools that may have been considered academically advanced. With all of these situations put together, I hope you do have a better understanding of what a charter school is, as well as its growing popularity and the impact it makes on education, both positive and negative. I'd like to leave you with a quote. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to who prepares for it today. These are the words of Malcolm X. Thank you.